from Organizing Our Better Tomorrow. I'm here with some of the team. We ran a little long on a thing. People were tired, but we won't have Donna here to correct us guys today, so we're free reign to say all the names wrong. I'd like to say it first by saying Steyer. There, I said it. No, it's Steyer. And we're talking about the California governor's race here in a little bit. Did Trump go to the dentist? Updates on the liquor cabinet, which I feel like the bottles are running out. You know what I'm saying? There's fewer and fewer cabinet members.
They got Hegseth around, so they don't last long.
Oh God, Saturday Night Live did the funniest bit where they did Kash Patel impersonation over the weekend, and they had Aziz Ansari on, and they go, "We'd like to talk to you about your drinking." And what's his name from the news segment, who's married to Pete Colin Jost? Thank you. He's married to Scarlett Johansson. I just wanted to refer to him as the guy married to Scarlett Johansson. Colin Jost comes out and he goes, "What? What about my drinking?" And he's like, "No, we were talking to the other guy." And he's like, "Awesome." It's a funny bit. Like I want to see Hegseth go as long as possible, but I'd like to see Colin Jost's impression of him stick around for a while longer. If we can somehow get rid of the real thing and keep the fake thing, I think that would really work out for everyone's best interest.
Yeah.
So
the satire is better than the real thing.
Yeah, the satire is definitely better than the real thing. It's hard to laugh at it sometimes because it's like so real and like people are dying and like we're like you really feel that like Western hegemony power sort of like other people's lives aren't valuable vibe. It's like it gets really dark if you spend too long thinking about it. And I also noticed their bits have gotten a lot darker, I think, because the audience is, let's be honest, where the audience is. So we also got this Iran thing. I think we nailed the 60 days, the 30 days. Last time we did a show, it was the day that Trump announced both that the war was over because his 60 days was up for the wartime powers, and that he was thinking about restarting the war, which we had said. So there's like a 30-day gap, and Jesse has a lot of thoughts on Iran. He didn't share them during pre-call, so we started a little late and ran long because we're all learning things. I actually do think, we're going to talk a little bit about this long COVID study here in a little bit, and kind of how it ties into this. There's a video going around of Questlove talking about what is essentially, I hate to use the phrase, but we're going to co-op it from the right wing a little bit, because the turbo cancer that COVID is causing, we're kind of understanding now how it causes it, and it's actually really simple. It's these NET blood clots move cancer around, and that's not COVID science. That's just biology. So we'll talk about that a little bit, and sort of like I think there's a lot to kind of dig into. And then I've been working on this piece, so I'm technically late on it, but it's never better late than never. But I've been working on a piece to finally illustrate I have 14 reasons right now why Novavax is better than mRNA that are all backed by different scientific arguments. I would say 10 to 11 of them are really strong, and like 2 or 3 of them are like, okay, I could use, okay, I kind of see what you're saying. A little harder to explain, but if it needs to get cut down, it will, or maybe I'll just get a really good explanation. But we're working on that right now, amidst all of this, we're seeing new AI swarms. There was a study that came out saying that AI swarms could take over like democracy, and people wouldn't even know it. And I'm actually thinking we'd know it if we just told people what to look for, because there's been some AI swarms recently on marketing campaigns that are just. I remember a time when they used to try to hide that they were fake accounts. Now you're just like, okay, this is a fake. There's no way. Anyway, so do we think Trump went to the dentist? Is the question of the hour? Anybody? Did Trump know that the White House has had a full service dentist set up since the 1970s when he used that ridiculous lie for why he had to go get another MRI scan? Question.
Yeah, sounds like probably not.
Yeah,
he probably wasn't going to the dentist.
No. Terry was saying earlier, she unfortunately had to go early. Her and Dawn are a little too tired today. That's okay. But Terry was saying earlier that when you get these infusions, you need to have a lot of different scans, like track how they're working in your body. So I'm just surprised they don't just like remove the dental suite and put an MRI scanner in there, and then they don't have to lie to everybody every 3 months about what they're doing.
Hmm.
Do you think they enjoy the lying? I feel like they kind of like feel like they're like smart and clever, like getting over on people, like teeing their way to. We did something evil. It just seems like they're way too into it. So I don't think he went to the dentist. I don't think he went to Florida to go to the dentist. I think it's looking at you're looking at scans and all this sort of stuff. But you were talking about Iran before I get to the depressing California governor's race. Kind of ties into some other stuff. You wanted to talk about Iran. I said, don't tell me what's going on. Do it live on the call. All right, go.
So Trump said,
winning.
that was Trump's take on it. But no, he. So yeah, we were right about the whole calling an end to the war, the Operation Epstein Fury. He ended that part of things, and then it looks like he's trying to provoke. To me, this is my sort of opinion on it, that he's trying to provoke Iran into striking and starting up a hot war again. So over the weekend, Iran submitted a 14-point plan through the negotiators in Pakistan. And then Trump came back and said that the plan is totally unacceptable. And then that was Saturday. And then Sunday, he announced this so-called Project Freedom.
Right. This is we're gonna take the boats through and I think that's how he's trying to push the button with Iran, like attack my ships, and then we are back at war. And Iran is like the strait is closed, and it is there like where I'm gonna look something up. Keep talking. I'm gonna look something up.
He was saying he was saying that he was going to send these destroyers with 5,000 troops, and of course there's missiles on a destroyer, to the Straits of Hormuz, and to guide the ships that are stuck there. There's 2,000 ships there that have been stuck there. Then there's also the blockade that he has. Which is doing something, but is not as effective as we think. That was something I wanted to bring up last time, but I didn't get a chance to. There is ways that Iran is still getting their own stuff out by other means, and also by staying close to the shoreline, because it's their own territorial waters, even coming out of the Straits of Hormuz.
Yeah, that's what I went to look up, was if how the international waters law works. I wasn't 100% sure. And so technically they're governed by international water laws, but it is technically, because it's such a narrow thing, it's close enough that they have controlled their shoreline.
It's split with Oman, which is basically right across the street. Or strait.
It's a water street. It's pretty much the same, right?
Exactly like that. So that it's we can't really go. The United States can't really go in there. That would be sort of an act of aggression to even do that during.
Well, that's what he's trying to do, though. That's what this Operation Freedom is supposed to be. Is he's going to take the ships into the Strait of Hormuz and like escort them out. So it's like if you shoot at these ships, you're shooting at American ships, and it's the end of the ceasefire. So like trying to call a ceasefire bluff, but the thing is that it's not international waters the way that Trump is implying it is. That would be a violation of the ceasefire agreement, is them bringing warships. And I saw Iran on the day of his both leaving the war and starting a new one. Was the Iran said that the blockade that they had on the ports around Iran were enough to be considered an act of war to them. So they were pretty adamant that this was not, like, they were not cool with anything that was going on. And I wonder how much leverage Iran really has, because we're trying to wrestle the nuclear codes away from Trump on a given day. So it's but at the same time, Iran is absolutely kicking the shit out of Americans regionally, but we have bigger guns to pull out that it goes from like normal to really horrible, like historically horrible, like real fast. So it's,
and this blockade that Trump has, it's like hundreds of miles out into the sea. It's not even really near like where these boats are set up. So I'm sure it's a pain in the ass, and they are, for Iran, but they don't want that. They don't want, their goods to be, possibly destroyed or taken or whatever. But most of the ships have gotten through. There have been some that we've seized. But yeah, it's one of the things that they want removed before any talks happen, because they see this as a violation of the ceasefire, along with Israel attacking Lebanon.
right.
So those are two of the things that they want to happen before any talks about anything else. And then the next thing is actually ending the war and getting a guarantee, bigger than just the U.S., that there'll be like a non-aggression pact.
Yeah, I don't think that there's anyone that can give that right now, like with this president and like the way he's being, and like and Israel. I mean, like Ben Gvir is effectively the new prime minister, as far as I can tell, and he's like getting cakes with like nooses on it multiple times a day. Like this dude, this guy is a psychopath. Like if
Look
there's
how death on their birthday. Sick.
Yeah, it's pretty sick. I don't really know. I don't really know. So the people who are like, you have to support this and you can't hate it, and I'm like, well, I can see why. You're like, we're going to execute you and kill you if you don't agree with us. And now we got 2 flotilla people that are like being put on trial for death. I don't know if you guys are aware that there are 2 flotilla members, at least 2. I don't know if there's more, but I saw 2 that are being put on trial that did not get released, and they're trying to claim that they're part of Hamas. They were taken on international waters. Like,
right.
It's fucking wild. It's a wild story that they can just
600 nautical miles or something from
if their intention is to go there, that's not enough to go on to just seize them. And I feel like we're at that stage, because we were talking about this earlier, where it's like, do these guys really mean it? Are they really enjoying themselves doing this evil stuff? And you're like, yeah, because we have photos of the Nazis having a great time on their break from the death camp, all laughing and giggling in photos. We just didn't have it in 4K video like we have this. So I think we're at that stage of like, yeah, they're showing how truly evil they are, and like how willing they are to get it. They think they're going to get away with it still.
Yeah.
And I feel like if Republicans were feeling safe about where they were in the world, because this is all part of the same group who enable this sort of stuff and enjoy it, like Randy Fine and those cats, I just feel like we're just like the it always turns, it always changes. Like if they were feeling safer, they wouldn't be rushing to gerrymander states into the ground, which honestly I don't think is going to work out for them the way they think it's going to. Like I don't think.
Oh, they know this isn't popular.
Like yeah,
all that Trump's doing.
Yeah, it's unpopular with their own people. Like people will show up to vote who've never voted before, just so that we can fix the things back to the way they were.
Yeah.
Like we were already having Republicans flip to Democrats, so. But then again, the Democratic leadership that we have, the leadership is just as sold out to Israel as the Republicans. So they're talking about how they're not going to impeach Trump and how they're not going to do all these other things. They're going to keep, 80-year-olds as leaders of committees. They're trying to really hold on to that power for a little bit longer. But then you see, you elect one congressional person after another, and you can kind of see that change taking shape if you can maintain it.
Yeah, and most people get mad at gas prices. This is just the start of the
oh yeah, we're not. We haven't felt the price, because the ships that were started when the war began have now landed, right? Or started, like those are done. So there's only the ships that have gone out since the war happened, and that's when we're going to start feeling the crunch.
Yeah, and what's another thing that's the thing that all the stuff that happened today. There's another thing that hasn't been reported on the extent of the damage, but today went really weird, because in the morning, Iran said they put like a warning out saying, these destroyers should not enter the strait. We will destroy them if you do. And then they said that they targeted 2 warships, and the U.S. denied that they were targeted. Then there was another thing where 6 Iranian boats were hit, and then there was another thing where there were drone strikes in the United Arab Emirates, and there were big fires from, they think it was a drone at the Fujihira, I don't know how to say it properly, the Fujihira oil facility, which is one of the pipelines and one of the facilities that in United Emirates that avoids the straits. It's actually oil that gets to the world market through a different route.
Oh, sorry. So it's that one that always gets attacked. They just got it up and running. So it's part of like I think people need to understand, like, the pipelines that avoid the strait are constantly under attack from unknown parties. And the thing is that the less oil that comes out of this area right now, the more expensive the oil people already have becomes. So people who are holding on to oil benefit from destroying infrastructure because that oil is about to be more valuable.
Yeah, and it's also not connected with the shortage coming from the strait. Like, this is a completely, like, if the strait is 20 to 30% of the world's market, they're hitting a percentage that's not even connected with that.
I think it just really goes to show I feel like the big conversation here should be about getting off of fossil fuels in general. Like, I feel like that's the big takeaway from the whole Iranian situation with the Middle East and oil and how, like, because even when you think about, like, all the Zionist stuff, why Israel needs to exist in their minds is because they want a foothold in the oil regions. That's it. That's why, I mean, that's the interest for America. So, like, it becomes this war base for us to use, and we just don't need it if we're not using fossil fuels.
Yeah, and then there's the petrodollar connected with all this stuff too. But yeah, we should be getting off of oil.
Well, I think that's how, like, that's kind of the same reason China. Yeah, exactly, the whole thing. Well, I think China's not holding the bag. I think the opposite of holding the bag. I think China's the one in, like, control of the situation. I think America's going to get left holding the bag, which is a bad thing, in case you're listening or unclear. But, like, I think that, like, China's really kind of, as per usual, China's playing the long game and making sure that they're going to make the last move. You know, like, when everybody else is the most vulnerable, China can take action, and then we're all speaking Mandarin in 2 years.
And it's wild that Trump is pulling this. He's supposed to meet on May 14th with President Xi in China, and China still they get a lot of their oil from Iran. So him pulling all this, not trying to wrap this up before his meeting, and trying to, like, it's just bad.
Well, the Chinese oil is the only oil that's been making it through consistently. The Chinese are the only, unless the Americans aren't going to take Chinese boats. Like, holy crap, what a mess that'll be. And that's why I think like, China is the one. Iran's letting China through, and America's letting China through. So who's the big winner here? China. Right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they're definitely winning.
Yeah, they're definitely winning. They're just kind of like, let you guys you burn up your resources. Like, I played enough Command and Conquer, which is like you move little troops around and stuff like that, and you have different teams, and, like, so you just let the other people drain resources, finite resources. You run out. It takes a certain amount of time to build new resources, so all they have to do is sit on their resources while you burn through your resources. That's, like, it. So yeah. I feel like you're just leaving ourselves in this, like, super vulnerable position. And,
it's just the whole zero-sum game just sucks. Like, we should have gotten off of oil. We should have been trying to work with other countries to do something about climate crisis. I thought, COVID could have been maybe the key to starting that stuff, but that didn't happen.
You know what I'm really just sick of personally is I'm sick of weapons of mass destruction being used as an excuse to steal oil.
Yeah.
That's the thing that I'm like, fool me once, shame on. Wait, what was it? No, I'm kidding. Can't
be fooled again.
Can't fool again. It was a George H.W. Bush impersonator. Again, weren't sure, trying to keep up. That's a joke Jesse got. So
Yeah. That
uh,
was Junior's thing. Quoting the WHO,
when
not
he
the World Health Organization. Roger Daltrey.
when he misquoted it, he said it backwards. He was like, "Wait, no, the other way," and you're like, I don't like this guy, but I relate with that so much." Like, oh my god. When I look at Trump, I actually look back at the George H.W. era, and I am not a George H.W. supporter, but I look back at that era fondly compared to now. You're just like,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It was like sort of the start of all the chaos in a lot of ways, and George W. Bush did kill like 1 million people for no reason.
Oh yeah, no, terrible human being, absolutely awful. We should have
There
avoided
was
everything.
some attempt to follow some norms.
Oh, he went to
somewhere.
Congress and sold it at least. Like at least
Yeah.
we're not like fighting over whether or not it's an illegal war. It was a like war crime level stuff happened, but they just lie about it and be like, "Oops." Like which is awful. We shouldn't do that. It's none of this should be happening. When I say I look back on it fondly, I mean that in the most terrible way. To be clear to everybody, I do not look at it actually fondly. It's like a figure of speech. Figures of speech gets you in trouble these days. We're thought police soon at this rate. But you want to bring up something, a little pivot right here. So we have this video from Questlove talking about stage 4 cancer. 11 people, he said? 11 people he know that died of stage 4 cancer?
Want me to play it?
Oh, I guess, yeah, sure.
Last year alone. And, I've wondered, is there a pandemic happening that I'm not aware of? I'll say for me, in the last 8 months, I've lost 11 friends to stage 4 cancer.
Oh my God.
Like even the day that I found out D'Angelo had cancer, D'Angelo was the 6th person in a 24-hour period that broke the news to me.
Pretty wild, right?
Well, if you're a long-time listener to this show, no, it's not. No, it's not. It's not the vaccines, or I should say, it is actually sort of the vaccines in that they don't protect you from COVID. COVID causes this. And we actually have really learned recently some really good science. And this is why I'm kind of really disappointed about this long COVID article, study that just came out. Well, I mean, there's a lot of reasons I'm disappointed with it. It's just really, really basic work on what's happening. Like, they don't really explain a lot. I need to do like a really careful read through. It's not very long, but it's the same people saying that. Except for Dr. Beckman, who is amazing. I think she's great, but a lot of the same people are short on these. Anyways, the point is that we kind of learned recently about these NETs, right? These neutrophil extracellular traps, right? And so there's like clumps of DNA that like come into nets and they catch virus particles and like collect it. And then your DNA system comes in and metabolizes them. And that's how you get rid of that's literally how you like get rid of like, it is an important, like I was making a comment about how they think it's part of our immune system. It is an important part of our immune system, assuming the process to metabolize them functions properly. So we've learned that these things, they move cancer around your body. So the idea behind metastasizing cancer is not like magic. Like we were talking about the lab leak the other day, which Dr. Kikuya Iwasaki wrote this paper about how we should be more honest with ourselves, but talking about the potential and likelihood of it. But one of the things that I always say to people is I think that like when you say the word lab leak, people think that like it like blows on the wind, like escaped an open window or something, and someone got infected. Like no, that someone's aerosoled a sample in the room with people who didn't have airborne protection. The whole reasoning behind the theory in general is that the Chinese military section lab did not have BSL-2 protections. They need BSL-3. And that was the whole reason they got outsourced, was because EcoHealth Alliances required BSL-3, and that cost a lot of money. They didn't want to spend it, so they outsourced it to someone who didn't have to do that. That's the whole thing, right?
It wasn't safe enough. The biosecurity level was...
Yeah, the biosecurity level was too low. That was the
Right.
whole. That's the whole problem. So you're like, when you're like, oh, it's a lab leak, and people think it like got out the window, and you're like, no, the biosecurity in the lab was too low, and so someone aerosoled a sample, and boom, people are infected. That's it. It's not complicated. It's actually much simpler than the concept when people think about zoonotic. But when you think about cancer metastasizing, people kind of think about it the same way. They think of like, oh, well, it just gets in your blood, or it just like whatever, or like, no, these NETs are like nets that move around your body, and when the same immune dysfunction that's going to create the cancer in the first place and let it proliferate, because your body creates cancer and your immune system fights it traditionally. And don't think that it's like you get stage any cancer, you go get real treatment. Don't listen to these idiots talking about metformin. That's why that Dilbert guy died, basically, because they convinced him to use metformin during like the critical treatment phase of his particular cancer, which survival rate was already crazy low. So I should say wildly low. I'm really trying to stop saying crazy. And like, it's just it's crazy how much it's in like, it's something I'm working on. It's not going easy. So the idea is that that these NETs are like moving it around your bloodstream, and so the same dysfunction that allows the cancer to proliferate and like grow is the same systems that go into dysfunction that don't process NETs. So your neutrophil extracellular traps become traps for cancer, and it moves cancer around. Because the distinction between stage 1 and stage 4 cancer is when cancer is metastasized. So when you have these people that are quickly moving from stage 1 to stage 4, it's because their early stage cancer is metastasizing very early on. And if your cancer stays in the primary organ, it's generally easier to treat. Generally. You know, cancer isn't easy to treat by any means, but if it stays in the one organ, we have more treatments for it. Like, so when it metastasizes, goes into stage 4, and you're thinking about this mechanism, right? You got these people, because I feel like we focus a lot with COVID. We talk a lot about immune system damage in comparison to HIV, which wipes out immune systems. So people do get their immune systems wiped out, but those people die of COVID. That's why people die of COVID. It wipes out their immune system. They die from syncytial formations in the lung or the brain or whatever until the body stops working. Because the body can't stop the process. It's out of control during the acute phase usually, because it's a more fit version of the virus. And it's just doing all this damage and kills the person. But it's because your immune system goes into dysfunction first. But the thing is that we don't talk enough about immune suppression. And immune suppression is enough to be like, you seem like you're perfectly fine. Immune suppression for cancer is kind of like what blood clots are to strokes. You know? Like, you get blood clots, and of these, especially with the spike in it, and it gets in your heart, causes these huge, horrible heart rupturing incidents that we see. And now we have some data. I always talked about that because it's like, if you've ever seen a heart pump, heart has these curves in it. And if you have blood clots in it, with the way cholesterol builds up, COVID blood clots build up the same way. And we see blood clots build up like this in normal situations, and these are even stickier. So there's a curve in the heart, and when it hits the wall, it like can make cells fuse, and eventually those cells can become like stuck together. Like, I don't know if you've ever had a tire with a bubble on it, except it's your heart that's pumping really, really fast. So like eventually that can become so weakened it bursts. That's why you have these like really extreme heart incidences. And same thing with strokes, because people get these blood clots, they get bigger and bigger and bigger. The system is in dysfunction that clears the blood clots because it's made out of these NETs that are building up from the waste from the syncytial formation during active infection, which is, anyways, I'll get to that in 1 second. The point is that then you cause a stroke. So in the same way that this system is dysfunctional, like, because COVID can make any system in your body dysfunctional. And I think when we think about our body, I think people are really looking at it wrong, because they think of your body and your immune system as like separate things. But in a way, all parts of your body are part of your immune system. In a way. So like everything kind of like works together to keep you like functional, and that is homeostasis. And so COVID can make any of those things dysfunctional, either through direct damage or the release of cytokines. And for some reason, our body, especially the CNS, gets really screwed up by the release of cytokines. I've thought a lot about the biological mechanism for this because there's got to be like a reasoning for it, but I don't know. It just our own cytokines from infected cells or from infection go on to cause dysfunction. So we find things like the GABA feedback. These are all feedback loops. So the GABA feedback loop will get dysfunctional, and then you start getting brain fog in relation to the AMPA ion channel thing. It's not transforming the AMPA properly into so that it becomes an ion channel allowing potassium and calcium in your brain, and then that doesn't reset the GABA cycle, which then doesn't reset the whole thing, and then now you just have horrible brain fog from the buildup of AMPA and probably excitotoxicity as well. So, when we talk about this in relation with cancer, one of the systems that can make go dysfunctional is the DNA system that clears out your NETs. Your NETs are extra mess as these mini blood clots. They move cancer around your body. Boom, you have more stage 4 cancer. It's really disappointing that it's such a simple concept and these people are publishing studies and like one of the authors of this long COVID study is one of the authors of the NET study. And maybe they get into it. I didn't check specifically for NETs, but like we shouldn't have questions on whether or not this causes cancer because we know. Oh no, it's not even. She doesn't have even any of it.
Yeah.
Like the idea of NETs moving cancer around your body and being a key feature of metastasizing is well established science. Like, I think this is the thing that, like, people don't get that really ticks me off. Is, like, persistence. Like, COVID doesn't bring a lot to the table other than the super antigen. Like, it doesn't bring a lot to the table. There's not a lot going on with it. Everything that COVID does is because our cells have the ability to do that thing. And when they're infected by COVID, they do all of the things they can do. And, like, cells do a lot more things. Like, I was looking at getting a better grasp on autoantibodies as a concept, and these are specifically in this case they're meant to block interferons. You got alpha, beta, and gamma. Gamma being the most powerful, some say it's like the most important. But the thing is that autoantibodies get released from the cells to mitigate interferons directly, and that's not something COVID brings to the table. That's something that our cells can do already that COVID takes advantage of. Like, so, like, people talk about like how cytokines work and how this stuff works, and I feel like how they talk about this, they're just not going to, like, I think the big thing is that really kills me on this, it just makes me absolutely bonkers. There, I did it. See, I did it. Is that we talk about the comparisons of COVID and HIV so consistently, but we don't talk about the mechanisms that make it similar. And before Omicron, it was very common to talk about COVID and its syncytial formations, because when we had people die and they cut open their lungs, you could see literally enormous syncytial formations. And then we had charts of syncytial formations. And then when Omicron came out, they tried to convince everyone that it didn't do that anymore. But that's not true. It just did it less for one variant. BA1 had less than Delta, but by the time of BA2, it's making syncytial formations again. And again, you're talking about the difference between them being in your lungs or it being in your brain. Not that it doesn't do it, it's just doing it differently. So, like, this whole idea that these guys are writing these studies on... And there is actually a study on whether or not a theory on this idea, and someone I don't know wrote it, about syncytial formations being the basis for all long COVID. And the reason, and it's not the basis for all long COVID, but it is kind of the basis for all long COVID, because the dysfunction created by the cytokine releases during persistence is the thing that kind of like mixes things up, because depending on where the persistence is, you're going to have different types of cytokines, they're going to be affecting different organs, you're going to be creating different symptoms. And I think this is the reason also with Novavax, which I'm going to get to this piece I'm working on right now, I'm going to give you guys the 14 points that I have so far, is this idea that you're increasing the range of antibodies. So the persistence theory, which I've explained many times, is COVID variants evolve very quickly and kind of suddenly. And how our immune system identifies it is mostly from the spike protein. We do have N protein antibodies. We used to talk about those. We don't really talk about it anymore. But we do have a response to N protein too. But in general, we respond to the spike because that's on the exterior of the virus. You can't get to the N protein on the inside if you're dealing with the spike on the outside. As long as the glycoprotein and all that stuff is together, whatever it's called. Sorry, sometimes going a little fast right now. But point is that the you're going for the S protein, and so when it's mutating really, really fast, not mutating, sorry, producing virons really, really fast, it's kind of like an assembly line that produces things kind of wrong sometimes. And so you'll have like that frame skipping thing or frame shifting thing we would see with the mRNA vaccines where it wouldn't produce the correct things. That's a mechanism our systems do when it just doesn't produce things right. So it's likely to produce a version of itself that is so different in the spike protein that your immune system cannot see it. But it is unlikely for that variant that is like basically disfigured, right? It's essentially has its spike protein is completely disfigured, is less likely to be more fit. And when we say more fit, it means it's not going to create an acute infection. Your acute infection will end, but it can set up shop in your like pancreas or your one organ or one specific thing and continue releasing cytokines from the cells it infects. And even if it's infecting only a small number of cells at a time, it is still degenerative. And so the worse this gets, depending on where this persistence occurs, is going to change the type of immune cells that we measure when we go to cytokine panels. So like the people not being able to grasp this idea, because it's not that the virus is complicated, it's that the body is huge and the virus can infect any single part of it. Because the ACE2 is the start. So when we look at like HIV, the comparisons we should draw is they're both syncytial viruses. They both can attack the immune system. So we can look at data for HIV to see how we measure that and understand that. And like HIV is understood as a massive cytokine problem, because you have all these infected immune cells releasing all these cytokines, creating all this dysfunction while you're also dealing with your immune system getting wiped out. It's not enough to kill you the way COVID is, because it doesn't get into like ACE2. Like ACE2 is like your meat. Like what HIV can do over several years is what COVID can do in a couple of months. Because it attacks, like the wasting syndrome aspect of COVID is closer to the ACE2 than it is to the CD4. And like this is why understanding syncytia, like if these guys keep publishing COVID and long COVID studies without the word syncytia in it and discussing the nature of that in relationship to HIV, you got to stop taking them seriously and definitely don't give them your money. On that note, if you like what we're doing, please consider making a donation.
Nice transition to
Thank
a
you.
plug.
You like that? That was good. Well, I didn't plug the. Don't forget to like and share the call, because I have. I'll be honest. Since I've been saying don't forget to like and share the call, we've been getting more likes and shares. So clearly it works. Thank you everyone for doing this thing. But this theory
comment on YouTube too.
Yeah, comment on YouTube. Our YouTube is really, we get everyone on Twitter, but we're gonna start doing TikTok really soon, just because I hear that the people will be even more critical of us there. No, I was thinking about going over there pretty soon, because I do have enough followers for a live stream for whatever that's worth. It's like 100. They put it in the gutter, make it easy for anybody, all the low lives like myself. No, so like understanding this though is like we have so much like they treat COVID like it's this brand new thing in every way, and it is brand new, but our body isn't. And the mechanisms that COVID shares with these other diseases that we love talking about, there's a lot of science in these other diseases on these mechanisms that apply to what we're doing right now.
Yeah, with the COVID cancer link thing, it is astonishing to me that like, and Patrick Soon-Shiong, like he wasn't talking about the mechanism like you are right now, but that was like 4 years ago that he was on CNN and making that comment about the link between COVID and cancer and persistence and HIV, and you'd think that would have like some kind of like conversation.
No, people see cancer as something that happens to other people. Cancer is something that they don't look at as happening to themselves. They just don't see it that way. You know?
But this has the power to persist in anyone, and even asymptomatically.
Yeah. Well, that sounds fake.
So
You've made that up. That's not real.
isn't that pretty scary?
That's not in the science, Jesse. I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know. It seems like something we shouldn't just look away from and go back to normal about.
I wrote about this in my 2022 article. It's just one line. But I was like, this gives the perfect environment for cancer to proliferate. You know?
Yeah.
Immune dysfunction, high inflammatory, lots of damaged cells that need to replicate themselves improperly. They're not going to replicate right.
Yeah.
So
It'd be cool to hear what he would have to say about the Cincinnia stuff and all. He always says it knocks down P53.
I believe
That's his.
protein.
Huh? It's a upregulated modulator for apoptosis.
It's a tumor protein, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a
So
suppressor.
that's what he always says about it, and that's why he thinks it's, COVID can lead to cancer.
I mean, that might be. He knows. Credit where credit is due. The man is an expert on cancer. So,
Yeah.
like, I would take. I mean, I can neither confirm nor deny the man's statements, but I would definitely say I'm looking at the page for it right now. And now that I can do this at my computer, it's a tumor suppressor gene. Oh no, wait. Yeah, no, the P53 is like the RB gene is a tumor suppressor gene, likely stops the formation of tumors. So he's saying that. Hang on.
He doesn't get into any deeper that I've heard than it knocks down. Like he always says that it knocks down P53. I don't.
That doesn't make sense. It seems like
I
you
wish
want
I-
it the other way. I don't want to.
I want to hear. I'd like to hear more than
I
just
don't know.
that
He
line.
got in trouble recently for saying things. I don't know if you saw that. Did you see that the FDA gave him a little bit of a slap on the wrist for saying misleading claims about his things fixing cancer?
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he got in a little bit of trouble back in March.
He does tend to be a bit grandiose,
Yeah, my experience with him is I would love to work with him. He seems very interesting. I feel like he's reading someone else's cliff notes when he talks about it. Like, I don't feel like he's the researcher on this stuff. He is on a ton of research papers, and I don't know if how much of that actual research he did or how much he lended his name to it because he could keep it funded. Because if he has the money to fund these things, then putting your name on them is just something that happens. It doesn't mean you're actually doing the science. So he kind of talks about it in a way like someone else told him how it works and he's trying to repeat it. That's kind of the vibe I get.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said,
Or trying to relay
I
it.
think his thing is cool. The Anktiva, which by the way, if you don't, we've talked about this before. So it's the interleukin 15. It activates white blood cells, but when we use it with specifically for bladder cancer, I think, right? That's what it's approved for. Anyways, I think it's bladder cancer. But we use it with the BCG vaccine for immune activation. And so it needs that extra immune. And I had someone come to me a long time ago whose dad cleared his long COVID persistence with the BCG and the DTaP vaccine. He had
BCG tuberculosis, right?
I think so, yeah. We don't know everything, folks. We're all learning together. Yeah, tuberculosis. So we don't use the tuberculosis traditionally in America anymore. That's why when TB, we talked about this in the last call, for TB you just want to have a healthy population and you pretty much have no TB. Yeah, it is one. There's a couple of really bad ones that we don't vaccinate for anymore because our food programs make them almost obsolete. So they pop up in red states where they limit people's access to food, or where drugs are a real problem because people who are on drugs tend to have a hard when they're on the really hard drugs, especially with the horrible crisis of fentanyl and all these things. There's another drug that makes people stand sleeping. I can't remember what it's called. It's real The people who are on this stuff, they can't. It's like heroin. They can't. You're not going through the trouble to file your government stuff and doing all the thing. You're not gonna have access. You're not thinking about that stuff. So
Like gives you narcolepsy or something.
Not
Not really. You're actually standing.
Man,
Like with narcolepsy, you could fall
yeah.
asleep.
I can't believe I'm talking about this, but the thing is apparently they say you'll see these people, and the Republicans always show them, and there'll be these people who are like standing over, kind of like zombies, and they're like standing there, like having trouble. They're kind of like asleep, but standing there. They look like something out of like Last of Us or something. And apparently the drug, whatever it is it gives them. Don't do it at home, kids, but it gives them a better high when they try to stand up. Like when they lay down, it's not as good apparently. So the whole shtick with this drug is that they have to like balance keeping themselves up, and that makes the high better.
You gotta fight it, man.
Yeah, it looks really bad. It looks because they're doing it. They're doing it because like heroin. They're like, they're gone. I can't believe. I'm sorry we're talking about this, guys. I swear to God, I'll get to Novavax in a second. But it's scary. It's scary. Like when you think about like what it does to people's brains and how they like are doing this all the time. They these really bad sores on their body, and they're like falling over on their face all the time. And then the groups will be like, we're talking like groups of like 50 people, like usually 20, but there could be a lot of people where they're all just like clustered in these like zombie raves. It's really weird. It's something I feel like it's important that we don't turn it. We shouldn't demonize the people who are going through it, because drug addiction is a medical problem and it should be handled as such. But at the same time, like you really see the destructive force, especially when you see the people who are like clearly new to it, who are still like clean and together, who are there, and the thing. You just I don't know. I've seen too many videos of this. I can't like look away because it's horrifying.
I didn't know the thing that you said before about the tuberculosis vaccine was a treatment for bladder cancer also.
They use it as part of the Anktiva because I believe it's because of the immune activation. So tuberculosis is big on immune activation, and that's what it's prescribed. That's how they use it. They've used two years together. So when I had said that, hey, I think that this thing might help with long COVID, but you should use it with Novavax or maybe just another immune activating vaccine. You know.
So it's not that off the wall to use a vaccine.
No. Yeah, when I said that, I did not know that the BCG vaccine was used this way for this. I did not know that yet. So when I found this, I was like, oh, well, then I'm on the right track. People thought I was just I bet people saw me say that and they thought I was just like pretending like I was acting smart because like, oh, well, they do it that way, and I'll just act like I didn't know. But no, I didn't know. it just makes sense. It's good science. So this Novavax thing. This Novavax thing I'm working on. It's technically a day late. I don't know if they're going to accept it, but it's a lot. But I got it down. I got it down to 14 reasons that Novavax is better. And like I said, like two of them are kind of flimsy because the priming interferon response thing. There's a lot of evidence that the mRNA vaccine actually does do something really special with the priming interferon response, and it's hard to say if one is better than the other because they're just different. They hit different interferon responses, so it's tough to say. So I'm going to be doing that's the one I have to do a little bit of research on. And my activates better T cells for syncytial viruses. So, anyways, first one is very obvious. It has reduced AE. We actually got a study on this recently. It's reduced AE. And I am making a point in this presentation to show how the limitations of studies done comparing mRNA and Novavax are measured to mRNA's limitations. So it shows that they're basically the same. But that's just totally ignoring like the entire story. That's like the most basic minimum expectation. So number one is the lower AE. Two, it has higher antibodies. And people will say, no, Novavax doesn't get higher antibodies. Well, again, if you measure mRNA, if you measure Novavax to mRNA's limits, then yes, they're about the same. And if you ignore IgG4, then yes, they're about the same. But if you take the IgG4 and realize that that's a bad thing, and it's in a zero-sum system with IgG1, so you're going to have reduced IgG2 and 3, which has been demonstrated in side-by-side studies where they just give people another third shot of Novavax to see what happens, and they have a huge increase in IgG3 and no increase in IgG4. So then, yes, the antibodies are the same, but they're not the right antibodies. And that's the whole conversation about, like, not all... There's only 4 types of IgG we're talking about here. So, like, it shouldn't be that hard to explain. Like, one of them is not ideal. We want to keep that one down. So when they say it's the same, it's like, yeah, because you're including IgG4. And then when you send it to people, you get to hear them explain to you why they think it's actually a good antibody. And you're like, it's not inherently bad. It just replaces IgG1, which is better. So it's just not the best antibody. You know, like, people get all sensitive, like I'm talking shit about their mother when I say IgG4 is actually can be harmful. That's like weird. My mother made those antibodies. Like, no, you made those antibodies. You know what? Never mind. So you got the higher antibodies. Then you have less waning. You got the length of protection without breaks. You got these. If you get 2 shots, the protection goes on for like over 400 days. So that's just 2. We're doing 3 for most people to get started, hopefully. And so if you get, that's why getting the 2 close to each other seems to be really important, because I don't have any evidence showing the long-lasting persistent response on 6-month intervals. If I get that data, I will share it, but I do not have it. So it's wanes less. We're only at number 4. Targets more variants because it uses the full S2. It just targets more variants. The J1 shot targets more all variants all the way up to like mRNA has had to update us. It's pretty much the same shtick every time. mRNA has to update every year. Novavax is every other year, unless we have a big jump like we did with XBB 1.5. Let's see. Fewer updates. Again, same idea. Updating the vaccine. We can additional vaccines reduces antigenic distance. So like the fold we talk about the reaching the antibodies have. Like there's this cool effect that with additional shots it increases the range of your existing antibodies, so it'll start fighting variants that didn't exist when it was made. I mean, it's really science fiction-y when you explain how it works. Like, it was made for prototype for the original strain, but then it worked against Omicron if you just got a 3rd shot. And that's, I feel like, what? How does that work? And you're like, it's the same. We should be using this platform for influenza too. We have a much better influenza shot. Or at least if we were doing the multivalence, we would have a bigger range. Because if you even look at the multivalence, we were going through that for the influenza meeting, and like, it makes picking COVID variants look easy. Like, it's like, influenza variants are a freaking nightmare. They're a nightmare. And the vaccines are just not very powerful. So you have to pick a strain in each strain, and like, it's usually going to be wrong because it's so they're so far apart. Yeah, when we were actually, because this was the first year, little bit of telling on myself, this was the first year we tried to do influenza variants, because I've always known it's really difficult, and we were like, wow, this is, now we understand it, and it's like even more difficult than I thought it was. So 5 was fewer updates, 6 is IgG4, and then that kind of leans into the pediatrics should be a priority, because a lot of the IgG4 class switch issues happens when you get multiple mRNAs or your first exposure. So like children and babies are going to be the most affected by this, and we're not, normally when we have this effect like we have in DTaP, we time other vaccines around it, and we're not doing that right now. And for the last like 4 years, I've been trying to explain to people, you're making your DTaP vaccines less effective if they're getting it in the same period that they have the mRNA IgG4 class flip. And people just look at me like confused and perplexed by, what does that mean? And you're just like, okay. Well, I should be saying class switch, but I like flip. It's class switch. Anyways. In my opinion, T cells, the activated T cells, number 7, are better because it focuses on CD4 and white blood cells instead of CD8. CD8 tend to just get up in the thick of things, and CD4s are kind of more on the outskirts, so they're less likely to get drawn in, while the white blood cells do a lot better at handling all this sort of stuff, which is the same reason the Antikiva thing works, because it activates natural killer white blood cells. When you say natural killer cells, a lot of people think T cells, but it's actually more white blood cells. So, which, whatever. 8 was innate immune boosting. So the innate immune boosting benefits of Matrix M and the saponins, all that sort of stuff. The priming interferon response, that's the thing that I think is a little flimsy. I'm not really like, I gotta do, it's my weakest slide. And I need to go through it again. Just to double check some information, because again, immunology is like, everyone disagrees. Everyone disagrees on everything, and maybe that's what that's what Akiko Iwasaki's paper was about. Is like, just, science exists to challenge itself. So I feel like when people are like, don't challenge the science, that's not science. They're talking about,
progress.
Yeah. You're,
You don't progress if you don't question things.
well, again, the science is all interpretive, right? So like it's someone's interpretation of the science. So you have to like go back, and challenging the interpretation should always be okay. And then challenging the science should be the next step. So like the first thing is this guy saying this study proves long COVID doesn't exist anymore. And then you go in and say, well, you're wrong. That interpretation is wrong. And then you get into the science, and then you challenge the actual numbers and how they came to that conclusion to prove that that's obviously bullshit. But like that's the stages of how you work it through. So when someone say don't challenge the science, that is not science. Whatever that thing is they're talking about is not science. Science exists to challenge itself.
Ideology.
Well, it's just marketing or like display. And that's kind of like how the bot swarms. Because we're seeing it with Becerra, with the California governor's race. But I'm going to finish this first before we get into. I'll just wrap it up. I'll wrap up over there with that. So number 10 was the mucosal response. Mm-hmm. Mucosal response is far from perfect, but it's a lot better than anyone else. And Novavax is the only company that's shown human testing effective for an intranasal. They're the only group that's done it. Which I feel like we don't talk enough about. That they're the only group that has a successful stage 2 intranasal that worked on humans. I believe. I mean, I could double check that. Biff, I don't know if you're in here still, but like, I'm pretty sure that's where we are on that. I'll be definitely looking that up on this thing.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was kind of surprising when I went to look it up, and I was like, holy shit, this is stage 2 testing. But because they have...
Yeah, I'm not aware of that either. It must be... If that is true, it's not something that they're working on anymore, which is disappointing, but I'm not aware of that either.
Well, just because they're not talking about it with investors doesn't mean there's not some wheel clicking on it, you know what I mean? Because the things that we hear about in these meetings are what they're safe to tell investors. They don't want to withhold big spending on it, but I mean, if they got to stage 2 testing, that stage 2 testing exists. So, I don't know. I'm going to go back for it and look for it tonight for this thing. So, 11 is updating imprinting with a single shot. So that's one thing that distinguishes Novavax from other platforms, like more than anything, is that you can just update with one shot, no problem. With mRNA, it takes 2 shots. That's why, actually, this year, the 50% response is actually higher than usual. It's great, which is great. I mean, I like people being more protected than they would be. But that's only because JN1 has done so little mutating antigenically that even though it can reinfect you for, to get acute infection, the antibodies for them are still working from your immune system perspective. So the KP2 and the LP81 to your immune system were the same. So it updated the memory. It takes 2 exposures to update the memory response. This was actually a really important piece of data about mRNA that like no one is talking about. It's probably the most important thing about mRNA happening right now, other than the skin lung cancer thing. Which, if you guys don't know, mRNA vaccines have been shown to help people with skin and lung cancer. And lung cancer is kind of funny because when you think of your lungs, they're inside your body, but from an immune standpoint, your lungs are outside your body. So basically, it has some sort of external effect. And the same studies that show benefit show that metastasized cancer of the same type on internal organs is not affected by it. So, bummer. That's a bummer. So, but it is extending people's lives when used. It's just like the BCG vaccine being used with bladder cancer. Yeah, it's the same thing. It's immune activation, and I think the big takeaway from this is we should be looking at immune activation as a part of cancer treatment, right? Because you want the immune system to fight it. So you want the immune system to activate towards something, because even if it's immune activated towards the vaccine, that antigen, your whole immune system is turned on again. So it can make things work better. So speaking of making things work better, number 13 is using Novavax with other vaccines might improve the response. My understanding is, though, you were saying, and if you talked about this, they really need to be in the same arm.
Right. Yeah, that's my understanding because of how lymph draining works. Essentially, they're independent on each side of the body, so that's why it needs to be in the same arm. Yeah.
Yeah, because I know my mom, who has immune problems from vaccines, she got a flu vaccine and a COVID and a Novavax at the same time, but in different arms. and the flu vaccine didn't respond right. And so, because she has trouble with vaccine, Novavax gives her a good response, but other vaccines don't. Back to that Saponin. Well, that's actually, hang on. That's a good point.
Yeah, that does make sense.
Yeah, I should put something about the something about repairing the. I guess that'd be that's innate immune boosting. So we'd want to put humoral immune boosting right next to it, right? Because I have that chart from my mom showing the Novavax kickstarting the IgG feedback loop. That now her body produces B cells after they were wiped out in her cancer treatment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think you ever said this paper's for ICER, the Institute for Clinical and Economic Research that you're working on, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was technically the comments were due yesterday, but it's an email, not a government sign up, and I got sick last night, so I was working on it. We're getting pretty close to ending it. I had a flare, so I ate too much of something I shouldn't have. What my flares do, which is, it's funny, like for some people it depends on what it is, but the first step of it is I fall asleep. I don't stay asleep, but I fall asleep, and then I wake up with like awful heartburn and just I feel like crap, and then I can't sleep, and then I'm up all night like I was last night. Like so it's like 3 hours of sleeping when you don't want it, and you're like, oh, this is nap time. It's nap time. Yeah, as long as I'm not driving a car, it all works out. Because it's like wherever I am, I'm going down. It's kind of funny, actually. I mean, it's not funny at all, but it is kind of objectively funny. So that's basically, those. So maybe I have 15 reasons. I got a humoral immune boosting thing in here because there was some proof of that. It would be weirder if it wasn't to the day so much, and it is. If you guys don't know, the Saponin innate immune boosting is like macrophages and right. It's like talk about the immune system live. Is like don't do algebra live. It's like unless you like were working on it like today, you're gonna get it wrong. It's like so easy to like misspeak, and then someone's like, yeah, they're innate macrophages. Because remember, Trump, Freeze would always Trump. Can't believe I said Trump. What the fuck is wrong with me? Freeze would always say the 69ers, or I would say 69ers because I'm a pervert, but the macrophages that had the funny name that had the 69 in it, and I couldn't remember what it was called because it was a long sequence of numbers, but there are particular macrophage that Novavax, this Matrix M, activates in your innate immune system. So it was, they play an important role in eliminating disease, I've been told. God, I sound like Trump when I talk like that. So I just, I feel like, I feel like things are going terrible. I feel like if you listen to this show and you're like a regular listener, things are going bad, but like we're getting a grasp on things. Like there are a lot of things that like we kind of understand what to do, we know how to handle it. And if you're like outside of this realm at all, this is like the only, like we're trying to put like a positive spin, explain things better. Like everything else is being explained and done so poorly that I can understand. It's just like, it seems like it's going really terrible. Because like this long COVID study thing that came out today is like, they didn't even include their own research. Like, weird. That's weird. You just slap your name on it. You didn't put any of your research in it. Like, they're just moving so effing slow that I feel like it's just about fundraising and not about actually helping people. So, surprise! But I feel like we're gonna do our best to try to shipper things up and explain what to do, and maybe you'll like what we say, and if you share what we're saying with some friends, we'll be able to help them too. Because I feel like I feel like that's what I'm trying to do with this Novavax piece. That's what we're trying to do with a couple other things going on. I also think it's a good place with these people who are doing such a terrible job cosplaying as experts that they, with the exception of Dr. Beckman, who just, you know, they're just doing an awful job. They're just doing it just terrible. They don't understand the things. They don't have any good theory. They're not even trying to advance things. Like I said, they're not even using their own studies in the work. It's wild. And people are like, these are the people who are going to help us. And you're like, yeah, you're going to die waiting. I don't know, Jesse. I've been kind of in like this weird position. We're going to wrap here, but I feel like I'm in this weird position because I feel like it's not a lot to do with the way things have been, because between, you know, RFK being a nitwit and all the bad stuff happening at HHS and Congress being frozen with like Republicans in charge, you can't really like advocate for anything there. You could do like gatherings and petitions and things like that, which we've just never really been successful at. Because the people who sign petitions don't generally take as radical positions as us. But that's changed in the last 18 months. So there's that. But I just feel like it's time to like dig in. I really want to get this project behind me. We got VRPAC coming up. So we got this is busy month. So we got ICER thing, we got the VRPAC and later in the month, and then we have the WHO meeting somewhere in the middle of the month. And we're going to have, hopefully I'll be allowed to do a presentation for VRPAC. And we have something we want to say to the WHO, so we're kind of like, basically the WHO, we want them to meet earlier so we can start trying to push for a school release as opposed to a winter release. We need to start shifting that. It's probably going to take a couple of years to get them to do it. Maybe COVID disappears in that time, but I don't. Even at its lowest, it's still 200,000 cases a day. So it's just a matter of time till it ticks back into everyone's lives. Especially in the summertime when less things are present. It'll be the thing that's present. So yeah, so I just, you know, we need to do this stuff, get this work done. But I think when this is done after this month, I'm really going to be putting focus into like trying to change strategy a little bit. With the show, obviously, we're going to keep doing the show. We'll keep explaining this. But I feel like I want to take a more aggressive approach in reaching people and engaging again. I feel like we need to ramp up for the... Because either one or two things is going to happen with midterms. Either the Republicans are about to get fucking crushed, or we're about to get rigged out of like having democracy. And either way, we need to be ramped up to do something dramatic that is legal. Yeah. You know, so I feel like trying to now wrapping up these projects and getting this going is normally we'd be trying to push for more Novavax release, but that's all happened. So now it's just a matter of figuring out what the next steps are. So what's
either build from the ashes if once the Republicans lose, or if they win, it's start building a bunker and
well, I know, right? The corporate neoliberal people are just being really like, the one thing I've learned about the Becerra push, which I had joked on here that Becerra was the person to beat. He's in like 4th place right now, but they're really trying to push Becerra with bots on TikTok and everywhere, and they are bots because they're people who have their accounts locked and have like no followers. And they're like Becerra. Those are bots. So I'm putting a lot of money in the bots thing, and that's what we're going to see a lot of, is more and more of bots sort of like stealing democracy, even on the left, because they're going to try to push back more austerity, more neoliberal practice. Like they're like, well, if the left is about to swing into power, they want to make sure it's the least radical ones possible, and we really need the most radical ones possible. So.
Yeah.
Radical means change for everyone, by the way. Radical is just the one who thinks of everyone. So.
And even though the bots are fake, it can influence public opinion by making people think that there is this support out there.
Right. Yeah, I feel like we have to teach people how to catch bot networks the same way we have to teach people to catch AI. You know, because the bot networks definitely have like signs, like it's a brand new post. There are already 30 comments. Those comments are all basically the same, and there's no one challenging them. Because the other thing is, the Republicans are really quick to hate on things. So they have bot networks that hate on things too. So when you post something, your good bot network hits it first, and then the bad bot network hits it later when they get a hold of it finally. So when the post is really new and it has like 10 identical comments or like relatively similar, you can definitely take from that, like, look, this is not organic, authentic situation. And then you look at the actual people, and you're going to find these people have no followers, they have no one engaged with them. And yeah, there are plenty of people on TikTok with no followers, but that's the telltale sign of bots. Because even if you're out commenting, the one thing I'll give about TikTok is people are super loose with their likes and follows. Like, super loose. So, like, people are, like, if you were just saying things in groups that agree with you, you're bound to get some... Like, if there are 10 people saying Becerra in a post, those people are likely to all follow each other. So if that isn't happening, or happens too much, then these are all ways you can identify bot networks. And that's a lot of work for the average person, but here we are. That's what we gotta do.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd rather be doing other things with my time, but if this is the new prevent corporate oligarchy bit, then let's go.
We can't let bots run the show.
No. And bots don't vote. Bots don't buy movie tickets. Bots don't, like, they're not real people. So they have to convince real people to do the thing. And all you have to do is make those things ineffective and people will stop using them. If they weren't effective, they wouldn't do it. It's also easy, you know. So if it's easy and effective, just throw some money at it, hit the computer nerd a little harder, and then suddenly you got 600 people creating organic growth, and of course you would. You just can't make it end up, you know, working in the end. So, anyways.
Yeah.
So that's it, folks. I think we're done here. If you like what we're doing, please give us a follow or like. We are actually genuinely accepting donations. Apparently, I have to monetize things in my life, I've been told, because I don't know. People keep telling me that my things need money. Is that a thing, Jesse?
That is. Oh, may the 4th be with you, by the way.
May the 4th be with you. Yeah, that's.
And also with you.
And also with you. Thank you. Perfect. All right, guys, we're out of here. Thank you, everyone. We'll be back Mondays and Thursdays. Please share, like, follow, play us on YouTube. Whatever you want to do that'll help get us. Apparently, these numbers matter, and we don't use bots. I don't know. Maybe we should get some money and just use bots, Jesse. That's what everyone else is doing, right? No, we need real.